Bitters.
Getting to the climax of today's show, we're having a discourse which is on 2021 in retrospect, looking at what and how the year has panned out, most especially as it relates to the downstream oil sector deregulation. You agree with me? There have been issues burning over the need to deregulate the oil sector and the need for subsidy removal on fuel, and the issues that have been panning out, and the discussions that have been crowded as regards the timing of the fuel subsidy removal, the factors that the government will be bringing in to cushion the effect, because basically the effects will be enormous. And of course, the landing cost of production of the petrol, that comes to the country, and all of this will be discussed today. And I have distinguished personalities, array of dignitaries with me. Starting from my immediate left, I have the immediate past chairman, ASU chairman, University of Benin branch, and he is the head of department of chemistry, UNIBEN, and he is Professor Julius Iyasele. Thanks for joining me again, Julius.
Thank you for having me, and good morning, viewers.
And next to him, I have a constitutional lawyer, a notary public of Nigeria, and a former SSA on legal matters to the Edo State Governor, and he is Adams Aliyu. Thanks for joining me, Adams.
Thank you, moderator. Good day, viewers.
And next is an articulate human rights activist, and is simply put, Solomon Idiogbe. How are you doing, Solomon?
Very fine, good morning, and the viewers at home, very good morning. Wishing you all a very Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year in advance.
All right, we have 2021 in retrospect, and some are saying the dominance of the federal government on this, despite the fact that there is this deregulation of the downstream oil sector, seems to be stifling investment and fueling uncertainties. We've had this on even where the PIB was passed into law in August, and all of these reactions from the public. What do you see this development to be in course of the retrospect in 2021, Professor Julius?
Well, Philip, you know we are good bookmakers. We are men of plenty words and no action. Most times, we are always on motion but without movement. That is the country that we are in. PIB, PIA, 16th of August, 2021, we've not witnessed any change. And what we were told was that by passing the bill, that was going to change everything about governance in the oil and gas sector. But since it was passed, we've not heard anything. We're to hear later of removal of subsidy. And that is what is on the front burner right now. That the federal government wants to remove subsidy, and then the petrol price was going to jump by ×2 and all that. But if you look at what that portends for this country, of course, it cannot be anything less than an anarchy. But what we do know is that what is happening to us as a country is crass incompetence everywhere. That is the biggest problem that we have. What is even subsidy? The difference between the landing cost of petrol and the pump price is what gives rise to subsidy. And so if we're able to do away with importation of fuel, it's very unlikely that we'll hear anything about subsidy. Some have earlier presented that it is because there's high rate of smuggling of our petroleum products across the borders. That is why they want to. But are they aware that most of the rice, the clothes, and all that we wear are smuggled also across the borders to Nigeria? Are the countries where these product items are coming from, are they growing naked? Or are they crying of hunger and all that? So the basic issue here, like I said, that people don't know how to handle the government in place. People don't know how people who dabble into government and don't have the idea of what to do.
Okay. Let's look at the making of the petroleum industry bill, the signing of it into law. You are a constitutional lawyer, Adam Zalev. Now, some say, well, in this country, we don't have problems with the formulation of policies or making of laws, but the implementation seems to be a challenge. What do you make of the framework at which this bill came up and then signed into law and meeting the objectives? Can you say they are really meeting the objective of Nigerians as regards the deregulation sector?
Well, leaving the theory for the practical, we all know that when the subsidy will be removed, it will affect pump price. The ordinary layman will scream when he cannot buy fuel for his bike or generator or vehicle. And once that happens, inflation will take place. Inflation in the study of econometrics, that is monetary economics, is a micro terminology. When the prices of goods rise up and there be mass unemployment. So we, although there have been proposals to increase fuel in the new year, the labor leaders, the workers, the human rights activists, they are protesting that should it happen.
Yes, because the consequences could be very, very chaotic and fatal. But where did government miss it? Because looking at 2021 in retrospect, where can you say the government missed it? Was it in the signing of the bill into law, or was it on the framework as being put together by the National Assembly?
Budget is always in advance. So the government planned, submitted, approved bill of 2022, late in 2021, without taking into cognizance the real welfare of the people.
Okay, that wasn't taken into cognizance.
Yes, because the welfare of the people by section 14 sub 2 should be principal aim of governance. Once you don't bring that into consideration, although there are technical reasons why the fuel price can go up, because for Cados, Bonny, the refineries there are performing below optimum performance, and so we have shortage of crude oil exporting, and it affects our oil sector and the regulation, but the ordinary man doesn't want to hear about it.
Okay, but in its strict sense, would you say that the Petroleum Industry Act has some setbacks?
Yes, it has some setback in that it was, although it was in focus, but it was not in good faith.
It was not in good faith. Okay, let's take a bite on that, Solomon Idiobe, because you've been on the front burner, in terms of agitations for the rights of the people. And there's a country where oil is being produced, and also an exporting country of oil. Now, what do you make of this? Will you say that the action of government, the activities, and the whole year so far as regards the Petroleum Industry Act was a setback?
Very big one. Very unfortunately, the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is a deceitful government.
No, you can't say that. I think you should be objective, rather.
Without
I think it's better if you make your points clear. You drive your points home instead of using negative statements that could draw emotions, please.
Without due respect.
I think as the referee of
yes,
this,
yes. And I said without due respect.
All right, please.
I'm trying to lay a foundation.
Okay.
That the government that does not come with absolute sincerity, like he said, the Constitution is clear about the fundamentals of government. The major duty of government is the welfare, security of lives and property of the people. Today, Nigeria, when we're growing, we say people sleep with one eye closed. Nigeria no longer even sleep. If they sleep, is with two eyes open. Now, when you said Nigeria is an oil producing country, I smiled. You know why? Because when you talk about production, it sounded big in my ear. Because I don't see Nigeria as an oil producing country, rather I see it as an oil scooping country. When you talk about production, I'm sure the the lecturer who is
A chemist.
understand what production is. It talks about refining processes. What we just do is still gather our crude and export. So it will be better for people like us to hear that Nigeria is an oil exporting country. Because in the end, we are like a farmer who farms a whole year, gets his farm produce, rather than buy a processing machine or a processor for the end users to get the better part of his product. He goes to farm, spends millions in farming, and in the end, he exports the raw produce of his farm to a processing machine at a very cheaper rate, far lesser than even what he used in farming, and then buys like thrice what he used in farming from those who have ended up processing it, who would just take less than an hour or a day to process it into a finished product. Now, look at it. We hear every day that Nigeria flare gas flaring, ozone layer, and all those stories we hear. At the point the Nigerian government started encouraging people to use gas, and the next thing the Nigerian people saw was the gas that was supposed to be cheap. In fact, the thing itself can't blow my ear. They say that they export them too now. So, the point I'm making is that the Nigerian government has really not done so well. Now, going to the Petroleum Industry Bill, later Petroleum Industry Act, it really has not made any difference. Now, we have some criticism. How will you give 3% to the host communities, oil producing communities, and give 13% or more to what's it called?
Frontier basins.
Yeah.
30%.
30% to
the frontier basins.
frontiers. In the end, well, for some of us, it's okay. Let's see how it works, because we know that governments always come with a lot of. You have cautioned me not to be very careful with words, but a lot of half-baked truths, if not lies. And then in the end, the 3% we are not seeing. It is rather that the 30% is more visible, and the visibility is sketchy. Now, simply put, the Petroleum Industry Act has not made any difference in the petroleum sector, whether you call it the downstream sector or the mainstream, or it has not done anything. Let me tell you, as we speak, those at the creek, just recently the Ogoni people got their judgment. We heard about the Ogoni cleanup. We got compensation should be paid. Nothing is happening. We know that actually has nothing much to do with the federal government. But however, they say na rat way they house. Now they tell the one way they outside say something there. Ogoni will not be messed up if the Nigerian government was sure protecting the lives and property of the Ogoni people. So simply put in all, the Nigerian government and the oil sector, whether I call it downstream, upstream, mainstream, it has actually not performed well. In fact, if you ask me, I'll tell you deliberately, the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria does not want the refineries to work.
I'll come back to you.
No, let me quickly make this clear. Because the government is just like the power sector. And the power sector reform, it has really not been productive.
Okay, I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. We are not done yet. I'll come back to you. But now, you are a chemist. You are a professor in that capacity.
Yeah.
And I understand that even before now, we've had this discussion and you've been able to bring about articulated points on how Nigeria can forge ahead in this whole issue. Now, we have the very, very questioning issues concerning the landing cost of petrol price per liter and then the pump price. You said it just now.
That's the response.
Nigerians are asking questions, as in, how do we tackle this? Because we produce this oil.
Yes.
And how come we are having such a huge amount on production of petrol per liter? How do we tackle this as a chemist?
Production in Nigeria, or is it the one coming from outside? I've said before, to make petrol out of crude oil is by simple distillation process. We have our refineries in the past, they worked. We have spent about over 50, initially the good Lord Jonathan's government spent about 52 billion naira. About 2015, they have spent about 56 billion. Recently, the House of Assembly, the National Assembly has given about 1-point-something billion naira for the resuscitation.
Are you saying they are not properly guided in those expenses they're making?
Port Harcourt refinery and all of that. And nobody is asking about where all these monies went to, because the refinery since then have not woken up from comatose position and all that. So, but there were these young men who established modular refineries in the Greeks.
Yes, and that's
all
the key.
That, and they were making fuel. Why didn't Nigerian government now call these boys as, if you can do what we couldn't do, how do we assist you?
Could that be a process in the pipeline?
Yes, to improve so that we can have more of fuel. Because whether we like it or not, if we don't have domestic production of fuel, we'll continue to talk about subsidy.
But don't you think that process is in the pipeline where government is looking towards inviting this?
How long did it take an Urobo woman to put distillation of ogogoro? How long did it take? Because it's the same process of refining fuel. The first stage of refining is you just distill, you get your lower fractions. It's the solid one, the thicker part that is remaining that you now need to carry through technological process where you require cracking.
But don't forget the capacity of consumers.
That's what I'm telling you.
Yes, and you need to contend with that.
If you now have these small-scale manufacturers littered all around and all that, if you have about 3 or 4 in Benin City here, they can service this and the environment and all that. So what is the problem? What the problem here, what we have, is political problem. It is not actually being able to action all of this.
Okay,
yes,
but just like you said this,
yes.
it's quite you are quite painting a beautiful picture on how to go about this.
Yes.
But do you think why in bringing up modular refineries, inviting unskilled people to take over capacity on this, don't you think that should be on the that's a long-term plan? So what's the short-term plan? What's the short-term plan that government can do? Because while doing that, we're going to still be having shortages if we don't go on.
Excuse me, if you activate that line of production, in the next 2-3 months, immediately you have domestic fuel production or domestic fuel produced locally and all that. So it's not something that is going to take a long time.
Okay.
What is the problem is here is that some persons must continue to bleed this Nigeria through gains. Ill-gotten gains they get through importation. That is just the basic problem that we have here.
Okay.
We are seeing it. And no OPEC country imports as much as 90 to 95% of domestic fuel consumption. Don't we have them? They are all producing locally. All OPEC countries. Why is that Nigeria own different?
Okay.
So that is what we
look at the challenge where some are saying that there's politics behind all of this. And increasing the pain of Nigerians seem to be bringing more hardship. And we don't know what will happen, because even why the federal government is saying that, well, before the end of the half year coming, before the half of year 2022 ends, they're going to be really implementing the fuel subsidy removal. What do you think government should do in this regard, looking at the present mood of the country citizens? Adams.
The governments, when they talk of adding to subsidy, removing subsidy, etc., these are terminologies that make no meaning to the ordinary man. This is the pump price of fuel that they are concerned about. If you increase it, whatever reason you give that you have increased,
it's not seen as tenable.
Subsidy, they are all economic terminologies. So there have been demonstrations in this country before when fuel price increased. When it was so much, the government had to bend over backward and stop the increase in fuel. We don't pray for that one to happen. So we pray that it will stop and that there will be no increase.
I think this is beyond prayer. What action should the government take? Because the government seems not to be very, very precise about when actually this subsidy will be removed totally. But we are looking at February. Yeah, we're looking at February. But what should the government do? What cushioning effects? Because some are saying that the timing of the government in removing this subsidy is wrong.
At a time, the government gave palliatives to say they have increased fuel, but these ones, we call it decrease the prices of commodities so that you can balance out. But it is better not to increase the fuel at all than looking for palliatives or looking for a way to reduce the hardship on the citizenry. There are some countries where fuel is sold lesser than Nigeria, although other countries equally sell more. That because the gross development per the rate, the value of the naira. In fact, we don't have costs to remove the subsidy. Recession has come up. Nigeria's naira has so much devalued.
Okay, so the subsidy should be sustained.
You're saying.
Okay, let's take your bite on that because...
Unfortunately,
yes.
I recall while this government was coming in some time ago, they mentioned that the subsidy was a scam. I remember. It was part of their campaigns, that there was nothing like subsidy, that it doesn't exist. Just the same way they told us that the issue of insurgents in the Northeast was government using kid globes, and that it was unheard of for 7 local governments in the Northeast, as it then was, to be captured by the then Boko Haram as it was. Because as it is now, we have bandits, you have unknown gunmen, you have terrorists, you have kidnappers, and all sorts of names. So, in the end, when you talk about subsidy, the same subsidy you said does not exist, you want to remove. It becomes funny to hear that the same thing, because I know Barrister Aliu understands what law is, that if you say something does not exist in the law courts, and you come to the same courts to say you want to gain benefit from that thing you had earlier declared before courts that does not exist, it amounts to lying before oath. Is that not?
Yes, you cannot build something
on nothing. So that's the problem of the Nigerians.
Okay.
Now, when you talked about modular refinery and workability of pipeline, the government, rather than find out, that's the difference between other clans and Nigeria. When people are doing things extraordinary, the government tries to see how they can encourage them and build it up. Now, people do crude oil thefts. They don't export the crude oil. They refine it here locally. Now, initially, Philip, the commonly used petroleum products was kerosene, because that's the ones the Hoipolois used, the commoners, the market women, the traders. It was kerosene. Before we knew, kerosene later became more expensive than diesel and petrol. And so everybody shifted to gas. And now gas has also taken another turn. Now, if only the government can be sincere to encourage, like he has mentioned, modular refineries. If you have 5 in Benin, 5 in Delta, 3 in Anambra, 6 in Abia.
At least that's a take-off point.
That would encourage, because like he said, a common distillation process.
Okay.
It's just like when you put ordinary water in a pot and you boil, you distill. You know, those who, like the chemists will tell you, the pure ones will go via evaporation and then settle on the other side.
So it's a simple process.
It's a
that doesn't need rocket science.
It doesn't much. But however, it is because we feel and we think, and some of us actually know, that government may have something different. Because you cannot continue to explain how crude oil is being stolen and exported. Because I was saying on News Crew yesterday from one of either your station or one of the star stations that we have lost over 500-something billion to crude oil thefts. You understand?
All right.
Where do they pass? We have marine police, if you like, you call them Navy, who protects the water shores. No vessel can leave the Nigerian shores or come into the Nigerian shores without the naval officers.
Okay, thank you.
Monitoring it.
Yes.
So, in all of it, how come an individual, I don't want to mention name, but you know, is building a refinery, an individual, the same refinery a federal government, a country could not
let's look at the expectations in 2022. Thank you. I think this will dovetail into what we'll be looking at in the year 2022. Before I bring you in, we just want to quickly say that we can't take much, we can't take your contributions in this, but we got that from Sonny Edosa of Airport Road, and he's saying that it's a simple process to do if the government is sincere and ready to do it. That the whole process seemed to be hindered as a result of parochial interest. Thank you for your contribution, Sonny Edosa of Airport Road. Yeah. Well, your expectations in 1 minute.
But I wanted to,
in 2022.
Yes, I wanted to inform that the People's Alternative Movement met on the 12th of December.
Okay.
And they have resolutions concerning the issue about increase in pump price. They have reminded us of that in 2012, the removal of subsidy as it were then was what caused Occupy Nigeria. In 2016, we were lucky to go over that. This year, if they remove it by 27th of January or 2nd of when they will be commemorating another of the Occupy Nigeria, then that there will be issues in this country if there's an attempt.
So government should do the needful.
Already are warning labor.
Okay, so
not to do it.
These are indicators that
that
it's not going to be. There's going to be a showdown if the government does that.
It's not going to be easy.
All right, thank you very much. In 1 minute, Adam Zaliu, your expectations in 2022.
Anticipation in 2022 is that Nigeria should be ameliorated for the welfare of citizens. The inflation, the kidnapping, all the vices of 2021 should go with 2021, and let's enter a new year. Society will be free, life will be free.
That's on the brighter side.
Yeah.
Thank you. In less than a minute, please.
Yeah, we expect good things in 2022.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's an electioneering year because 2022 is preparation for 2022 presidential elections and all other elections that are coming. But we would expect that the federal government should have humanity, not just be human. They should look at the plight of the Nigerian people and look at a way of ameliorating and ensuring that there's a better life for Nigerians 2022 to 2024.
Thanks, Solomon Ijobe. Big thanks, Adam Zaliu, and also big thanks, Professor Julius Iyasele, for taking our time. We hope to see you again on this platform to look at other measures on making sure we have a breakthrough in this direction. It's still This Morning on ITV. Do stay.